Hello everyone, and thank you for being here listening to me. I'm really glad today to have the opportunity to present you the exchange studies I had the opportunity to do during 1 year between France and Narvik. So actually in Narvik. So before beginning, please let me introduce myself. I'm Louis. I'm 21 years old, and I come from France. So I come from the southwestern part of France, in the Pyrenees, where you see the small red house on the slides. And my university is in a city called Toulouse, which is where is the red hat on the map, also in the southwest of part of France. And there I'm a mechanical engineering student, and I've been spending one semester that finally turned into 1 year as an Erasmus student in exchange in Narvik. So to begin with, maybe I should begin presenting my home city, my university city, which is Toulouse. It's called the Pink City. It's one of the most important student cities in France, mostly because it has mainly good weather, typically warm and sunny, even too hot in the summer, but that's not the problem. It's also ideally located because you can go either to the Mediterranean Sea or to the Pyrenees in less than 2 hours, whether it's by car or by train. So it's quite a pleasant city, actually. So the picture on the left is the view I had from my my student accommodation. It's not the most beautiful of the world, but you can see in the foreground there are some big trees. Actually, there is a channel that passes there, like a river linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. And it's a very pleasant place to go for a walk or running or everything. And also Toulouse is very famous for its rugby team, which is quite strong actually. Then where I live when I'm not studying, it's in the Pyrenees Mountains. And the Pyrenees go from the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. And they also have a quite good weather. Of course, it's sometimes more cloudy or colder in the wintertime. Uh, but it enables us to have some good ski results and a lot of ski to do in the wintertime. Beautiful hikes in the summer, and also biking, a lot of things. If you like nature and if you like being outside, it's really pleasant. And the weather is still warmer than in what it is in Norway in the winter. And we also have some thermal sources. So after the day out in the mountains, it's really a nice thing to go in the hot water and enjoy. But what else can we do in France? So please, before everything, in France you won't find French hot dogs. Something that exists in Norway, but not in France actually. Instead, you will find a lot of interesting things, and if you like food, you will have enough. You will have enough because every region, every area of France has its own specialties. And if you are in the southwest, you'll really have a taste of some incredible ones. Typically, some of them are quite heavy, like the cassoulet, which is a dish made of white beans, sausages. It's quite heavy, but we have some other ones really nice, and a lot of cheeses also. And of course the famous baguette, which is very different from the one we can find in Norway. But we have a lot of interesting things to do. If you go to the Atlantic coast, then you'll have some very wide sand beaches and really nice weather. You can also go, of course, to Paris, where you'll have a lot of things to visit, and it's of course one of the most touristic places of France. And if you go to the southwest, more in this area. I don't know if you see the mouse. Of course, you'll have good food, and also one thing in the summer that we call the feria. It's like a big party during all day, all night, and it's very festive. It's a very funny thing. Now let's be a bit more studious, maybe. So let's talk about my home university. It's called the INSA, which means in French National Institute of Applied Sciences. It's an engineering school, so not really a university. And we have 7 INSAs in France. Um, we have to study there for 5 years, what gives us the engineer diploma, which is the equivalent of a master diploma in terms of credits and everything. We are about 2,000 students only on the Toulouse campus, and this school offers a lot of programs and specializations. Yeah, you can see all of them on the slide. And the idea is not only is not to focus on technique, but it's to form humanist engineers. Um, what means we have a lot of classes about how to be human, actually, how to be a good person, and to be not only about technique but also about being able to live together. So typically, how is it to study in France? So we have to be an engineer. It's over 5 years, as I told you. When we finish the back, what you see on the arrow on the top, the back is in the end of the high school. Yeah, it's the diploma when we are about 18. Then we have the preparatory cycle and then the engineering cycle. You can do in 2 different schools, but also the 5 years in the same school. It's what can happen. But for the other uh, formations, we have a lot of different structures. It can be 1 year, 2 years, 3+2, or 8 years. It really depends on what you do, but typically we are on the same principle of 3 years for bachelor and 2 more years for master. So yeah, 1 semester in France is also 30 credits, European credits, so for that you shouldn't have any kind of problem. And as far as I know, if you come to study in France, you won't have to pay extra fees if you come as an Erasmus student, because you'll just have to pay it in Norway, and then the universities have an agreement for the exchange. About the classes structure, it's also quite different than in Norway, because we can have classes from 8 to 18 in the day, and usually we have sometimes 2 hours break in the middle of the day, because that's something very important for most of French people. And the workload is also a bit more important, I had the impression. But again, it depends on where you go and what you do. So yeah, it's a different rhythm, actually. And in terms of student life, we have the equivalent of the Samskipnaden. It's a bit less active for student, I would say. Less activities planned in general, but yeah, it also depends. Usually the student associations are more responsible for this, more than the CRUS, so the Samskipnaden's equivalent. And one good thing in comparison with what it is in Norway is for the canteen, because for students we have the university restaurants. Um, they are really, and there you can have a meal for, depending on your situation, either €1, either 3.30 euros, so a bit more than 30 crowns, and you have a complete meal. With everything, so it's quite a good thing if you're scared for your budget. So now, what to do in exchange in Norway? So in my case, in France, in order to have the engineer diploma, it's mandatory to spend 16 weeks abroad. It's not mandatory to be as in an exchange, but it's the easiest solution. Um, and what is the process? So first you have to find a partner university. I think most of the universities have a listing of the partner universities where you can go. Then you have to find the right courses. So in my case, it was is written on the right. I had various courses from different programs, and it's what is easy. Sometimes you can do things that are a bit different than what you would usually do. In that case, it had to match with what I had to do in France otherwise. Then you check the credits because if you don't do enough, then it could be difficult for you when you come back to your home university. Uh, and you have to be careful because in France, I know it's usually 2, 3 credits for a course, but but we have more classes. Whereas here it can be 5, 7.5, or even 10 credits for a single course. So it's a bit different. Then you go through all the admission process that can be a bit long and it's different it's specific to every university. Then all the administrative stuff, and because you have a lot of papers to fill and everything, it's a bit long. But then it becomes interesting because you start planning your trip, planning your accommodation, get some information on how it happens, and how life is where you live, where you're gonna live. And then you just have to go and enjoy. Varsågod. So then, when you're in your exchange, what to do? What can you do there? You can meet new people. In Norway, I've been impressed by the number of people from all around the world we could meet, and it's something really nice in terms of culture. You can also discover the country and go traveling a bit here and there. It can be quite easy, and you can discover some beautiful places all around. You can just discover the city. So actually in Narvik, the city is more the mountains. But if you're, for example, in Toulouse, you will have a lot to discover and a lot of restaurants, of associations, of activities, just of beautiful places. You can also do some sport because it's a really nice thing to meet other people, to discover new places, to enjoy the place where you are actually, if you like it. You can also enjoy the university activities, the clubs, the bar, everything. There is always a lot of things to do, a lot of associations, a lot of activities. I guess you won't be disappointed by this. So you can also enjoy the cultural differences, the museums. So it's more for the cultural aspect because it's also interesting. Of course, you'll discover new food. I've already been talking about it, but here in Norway, I've been, for example, discovering not only Norwegian food, but also food from a lot of other countries because there is a huge international community. And in the end, of course, you will have to study or not, but it depends on what you like to do and if you want to be comfortable when you're back at your home university, of course. In the end, yeah, maybe you would be scared by some inconveniences that you think could happen. For example, I have done like a list. It's not everything you can find, but you could be unable to. You could be scared to be unable to afford your life abroad. For this, you can have many scholarships and other solutions to make it cheaper. Typically in Norway, I think you won't have this problem. Yeah, we can also find uh, some ways to have food for less, or some like what it is in Norway, um, with solutions, and the samskipnaden can help us, or the equivalent of the samskipnaden, or to have some leftovers from the shops that they would do at a reduced price. These kind of things, there is usually no problem with that. You could miss your family. That's true. That could happen, but you will find a lot of new friends, and it's also nice. You might struggle finding correct courses that match your program, but actually there is usually a lot of partner universities, so you'll probably find one that fits. You may have some requirements in your home country. For example, if you have some medical stuff, or in my case, it was sport competitions. So in this case, maybe you could find a country not so far, and you could come back sometimes if it's something easy, or find the equivalent in another country. It's up to you, but there's always a solution. One thing you have to care about is the academic calendar, because there might be some differences. For example, in France, the first semester can finish in late January, but it also starts later. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't perfectly match, but sometimes it also you'll also have one less month of holidays. But don't you think an exchange is far more exciting than only 1 month of holidays? And sometimes it brings you really more. The lover of English or another language can also be inaccurate. But for this, well, there is no miracle solution. You'll have to try to find the right country, the country that speaks a language you speak, of course. And you keep in mind that improvements come very quickly uh, when you speak it every day. And no one speaks perfect English, so you won't be the worst in your exchange. You might feel insecure or alone, and for this, yeah, you have to rely on previous experiences, because even on countries that are considered as being unsafe, it's usually happening really well. Um, and if you provoke social meeting, you will go to see other people. You'll have a lot of new friends, and then you won't feel alone at all. And finally, an important thing also is environmental concerns. For example, if you don't like to go abroad because you don't like to take the plane, you might find a country nearby, or also you can go with the train. I personally did it from France, and it's something also interesting because you really enjoy the distance. You really realize how far it is. um, so yeah, there is always a solution, and going for an exchange really generally brings you more than it costs you in terms of investment. Yeah, you'll have to be invested, but in the end, you'll be more open-minded. You'll have a lot of experiences to share, and maybe you will see life differently. So yeah, finally, I think you'll have enjoyed. I hope I haven't been too long and too boring, and I hope you'll maybe think about going abroad and discover new countries, whether it's France or somewhere else, because it's really something, it's an experience for the life. Yeah, thank you for listening to me, and enjoy your year here in Norway or somewhere else. Bye.